and we are at the final part of our Innovation Summit. And this is going to be really, really exciting. I'm presenting Skare Nielsen, who's a futurist. And I just had a very quick, brief chat with Anne, and that made me really excited about what she's going to speak about. So, not more for me. I will give the stage to you, Anne. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So, you look like you had an exciting day. Yeah? Yeah, thank you, amazing. There's one person who still has some energy left. I'm a futurist. I have a vision for my company, Universal Futurist, which is that I want to win the Nobel Peace Prize before I die. Yes, yes, yes. And I don't want to do it by myself. I want everyone to tag along. Is that okay? So I'll teach you how to predict the future and what is coming, and then you go about making good decisions, and then we can all meet up in the end, have a great party, win the Nobel Peace Prize, and the day after, we are dead. Is that okay? Yeah. I just have to ask, is there any good people in the audience? Anybody who would consider yourself to be kind of like just a nice person? Yes, we have one in the back. Yes, one more here. Maybe it's more easy to say, are there any evil people? Thank you. That's why you came, right? It's because you know you're evil and you want to be in the unity of other good people. I have to say, one of the good things to know if you are a good person is that for the first time in the history of the world, it will actually pay off to be a good person. Isn't that nice? Yes. Finally. And then when we look into the future, then it's actually really hard to be a good person, right? You see there's flames and there's war and there's resource, and you have to be kind of like a badass to win in your organization, and you still kind of like just want to be a good person. So I think that is what I want to teach you, how to be good people together, and then also how we can use all that we have learned here today to make better decisions together. Is that okay? Yeah. Good. I've been doing this for 23 years. And I have to say that one of the things that I have noticed in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I think I give around maybe 100 and 150 keynotes per year. That is a lot. And one of the sensations I can totally feel is that when I have an audience like you guys, it's like people don't get anything anymore. So we are talking about stuff, and then people that look like this, look like, yeah, I get it. And then you can see, no, I really don't. And you say things like sustainability. Go to a sustainability conference, and people talk about sustainability, and then there's somebody under the table who's Googling sustainability. And somebody is saying then ESG, ESG. Or you go to a conference like this, and we are talking about LLMs and synthetic data. Synthetic data. And then we kind of pretend that we know what it is. As you know, my sensation right now is that we're all kind of like just playing adults and just pretending that we know stuff, and then everybody's just like an idiot. Is there anybody who feels like that? Just look around yourself and then go like, yeah, I don't get it. Please do so. Look around on your table, not a little bit, and say, yeah, I think it's difficult. I don't think that many people today feel that they got it made and that they understand anything. And also when you have an amazing day like this, maybe we should take off some time. We're all talking about ethics and making the right decisions, but when do we really have that moment where we can do so? Sometimes you find yourself going to the toilet together with somebody else, and then you have the great conversation. They don't have it in the boardroom. So I'll invite you in to have a good conversation with me. Actually, it's also called a great conversation. You probably heard about great resignation, which is when people opt out of stuff. But right now we are entering the phase of great conversations. And that means just to have a conversation about right and wrong, ethical stuff, taboos. That is the whole point. I'm going to give you some new cards to play, so you can actually look at the future like a card game. There's a game going on and you want to win it, you don't want to lose it, and maybe you have some cards on your hand. Maybe there's something that you're really good at, and maybe you have too many cards to play. So I'll just ask you to begin with having this metaphor in your brain that you're just putting all the cards on the table. Everything that you are good at, everything you worry about, all the tasks you have to do, just imagine that you're putting them down on the table. And now you're picking up one card. this one card, I invite you to play as often as possible. This is the key card. This is a card that will also define you in the future. And it's also a card that when I'm teaching you how to predict the future, this is the card that you've been playing all through your life, and you actually love to play it. And this card is the tourist card. So I'm teaching you how to become futurist. But before we go into the future stuff, just start out by being a tourist. So if I say vacation, how does that feel? You're going on a vacation. Yeah, it's nice, right? It's like, whoo, that's pretty good. So when you are in this tourist mode, all of a sudden, all the things that you can look at becomes like, whoo, food I haven't tasted, people I don't know, the places I haven't been to. Maybe we make a mistake. And what we do when we are tourists is that we kind of allow ourselves to be a little bit stupid, a little bit, well, I made a mistake. And then we go into the tourist mindset. So when we do this together, and how you play this card from now on is that look like this. Could you please do like this? Just make this facial expression. If you have a teenager, you can imagine when you tell your teenager to clean the kitchen. It's like all their bones in their body become a little bit soft. It's like, yeah. So please make this face and breathe. So you go like this, roll your shoulders a little bit, and you breathe. I just gave a presentation for dead people, and they said, could you please tell the living that they should breathe and enjoy it, because it is the first thing that you miss when you are dead. It's not breathing. It's like, oh, I should have enjoyed it much more. So we breathe, and then you just go like an owl. So you go like this. You know, like an owl can just turn its head almost around its body, and then you say the magical word, and the magical word is not-a-da. Not-a-da, yeah. And just look at each other, and then do a good not-a-da. Find another da that suits you. That's the new Danish word. You probably heard about hygge. Not-a-da is right after that. So not-a-da is not, in the tourist mode, it's not to say that stuff doesn't matter. It's more to say that there's so much stuff going on, and we want to invest our energy and our time in the things that actually matter. So when we are predicting the future, it's kind of like seeing beyond all those wave changes and then go to that new product of productivity. You probably know this model from Gartner, where they say that if something happens, then we have this peak of inflated experiences. Bitcoin! You don't have any Bitcoin, the end of the world will end if you don't have any Bitcoin. And then we go like, okay, wasn't that great, was it? And then we sell everything and we underestimate the impact of it. And then comes something after that, the new plateau of productivity. Do you remember Corona sitting in an pandemic at home? Do you remember that? Yeah, it feels like 1,000 years ago, right? There was a specific thing that people all over the world went shopping for. What was that? Toilet paper. We have a parallel to it in Denmark, which was a couple of years ago. People went berserk for yeast. Probably have you in your own home countries, tulips. We had in the Netherlands a couple of years, some years ago. So what happens when we get a little panicky is that we have this tunnel vision, and then we say, okay, stuff is closing down, the end of the world is near, and then we look for what we have always been looking for. We are zooming in on a wild middle-aged man. You look smart, sir. He's buying yeast, he's buying toilet paper and tulip. Let's have that, because then everything is under control. So when somebody comes and says to you, AI is taking over everything in your organization. If you have an AI in your customer service now, you are doomed, you will end up in hell, then you say, not-a-da. Is that really so? Or could it be something else? And then again, look at when we have these huge changes, what is it that we are left with? What has a worldwide pandemic left us with? Has it left us with, now we are staying home when we get sick? No. I actually thought the buffet would die. I actually thought we would see the end of the buffet, because the buffet is a little yucky. Am I right? It is like 200 other people have been up sneezing in the food and now I'm eating it. But it's still there. What we have been left with now is, of course, online meetings. Now we can do Teams and Zoom. So how fast did that go? Because I've been talking, and I'm sure some of you guys have always been talking about flexible meetings and online meetings for 15 years, and then Corona became IT CEO. How fast did it go? How long did it take? Couple of hours, 2 weeks, then we were there. And this is such a great tool for when you're predicting your own future, is that if the infrastructure is already there, but we need to move people in herds, the final thing that happens is often that we have a little game changer. And then we are looking for this plateau of productivity, of course, because we want to be better people. We don't want to win the game anymore. What we do is that we want to improve the game, make the game better. This is something that I totally believe in the bottom of my soul, is that in the next 10 years we are going to see the rise of better communities, better people, less friction because we have AI that will help us, but a lot of what we do where we are going to from growth, so we want to have more, is going to turn into better. Maybe you see it when you're traveling, when you go around the world and you meet people and you figure out, hey, they're also nice. They also have a family. They also want to go to work. I just recently came back from Malaysia, where I see the same things also in Africa, is that when people come to this level of welfare, when they experience what it's like to have warm feet and food in your belly, and you know where the next paycheck is coming from, and my kids are sleeping safe, you do not want to leave that. You do not want to go up. You want to make that playing field better. You want to be like, have you seen The Simpsons? Have you seen that scene where Homer Simpson slaps himself in the belly, and then his belly go like blah, 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 blah. This is how we have to respond when something comes from the outside. It's like blah, 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 blah. We can absorb everything. Just need to have this really nice work day, life day, instead of moving ahead. It's a few people, maybe it's all of you, who thinks that vision is interesting and where we are heading is interesting. Most people just want to have family life, want to have a good life, want to be good people. And this is actually what we could be left with in the new plateau of productivity. This is just my opinion. You can, of course, imagine the future that you want, and I'll help you to get there, but I should say that we really have to honor that so much stuff is changing right now, that we really have this opportunity to change the world for the better if we want to. This is a great metaphor for it. It's from Sweden, and I don't know if you know, but Sweden up until 1967 drove on what we would call the wrong side of the street. Like if you were in Australia or you went to Britain, they're driving in what we would call the wrong side of the street. And in 1967, they switched over, and now they are driving in what we will call the right side of the street. I don't know, is there anybody here who loves to tell other people what to do? Maybe with Excel, make an Excel sheet and people will do it. You should really, read this book, get it for your birthday. It's just the best thing ever for people who say, let's put it in Excel, and people will do it, because they did. But imagine this. Imagine that this is Sweden. This is 1967. And we are having this conference, and now you go out, and it is this day where they are switching the way of the streets. You go into your car, and now you realize nobody told you. How would that feel? What would you think about other people? Yes, you'd like, idiots. Here I am driving, here I'm supposed to do what I'm always doing, and all of a sudden this idiot is coming right inside my head, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then you don't really realize that you yourself is actually the ghost driver. And maybe you're sitting next to me and you say, oh, Mrs. Hyacinth, come over here. And all of a sudden we go like, poof, now we're on the right side of the future. It's still a hassle, it's still, conversations. But from one moment to the other, I go from being a ghost driver who think that I got it made to actually be part of something else. And I also go, and this might be one of the biggest game changer that we have to work with for the coming decade, is that we are not each other's enemies anymore. We need to start looking for allies, and we need to start out with the mindset of the ally. Do you have driver's license? You look so young. Yes, you do have driver's license. Would you agree with me that when we go to another country, we drive in what they call the right side of the street? Or would you go to Britain and insist on driving where you do? No, we wouldn't. We would say, here I go, and it might feel a little annoying, but this is the rules of the game. When you go into traffic, do you consider other people your enemies or your allies? as a, to begin with. Of course, if there's only one parking space left, then we can go in enemy mode. But you kind of, as a default mode, is that other people are my allies. They're going here, they're going there, and I'm making space. Traffic is a super good metaphor for the future organization, the future workplace, and the future community. Because we are driving in a vehicle of death, but we have a GPS that is telling us where are other people, and then I say, I want to go there. I don't know, do you know that the GPS was invented by a woman? Because she was super annoyed that her husband would never ask for directions. But all of a sudden, when you have a GPS that tells you stuff, it's like, okay, now I can do it. And maybe that is all we need. If you tried Copilot, I think it's Microsoft who has invented the Copilot. They use it in Novo Nordisk. I have a friend, he's a CEO in communication, and he says that he has this little Copilot turned on, so when they have a meeting, it comes up and says, you have talked enough. There are 3 people who are not in the conversation, so maybe you should tone it down a notch and then start asking some questions to those people over here. Or it would say, like, you have said like something and like this. You said it 367 times now. Stop it. And sometimes I'm thinking, maybe that is all we need. Maybe that little human GPS who says that when I say diversity and you say diversity, you're talking about 2 different things. And then it enlightened us, and then we become, okay, you could actually be my new best friend. Or at least you could be my ally. So this is a trend, going from enemies to allies, not seeing people as something I need to compete against, but maybe like puzzle pieces. You're doing you, and now all of a sudden, we can see how these interconnected parts fit together. To make it easy, let's just say that we have 3 different kinds of cards. So we have the skill card, we have the trend cards, and we have the task card. And I invited you to say, let's do the tourist card as a skill card. You have many, many skills, there are many trends, and we want to kind of like make these fit together. If I said that the future was France, in the future, France will win and take over the world. What would be a good skill for us to start training? Yes, speaking French. What would be the task? Start learning French. That would be it. But now it becomes complicated, right? Because there are many, many different ways of learning French. The people who work with education and HR in organizations, they also say this is going to be a huge game changer. Because now we can AI into HR, into personality test, into job matching, so that you can actually get matched up with the right trend, with the right skill in the right organization. But that also requires for us to have kind of a sensation about what it is that we want to do, and also maybe sometimes to make mistakes. I'll show you a little video clip of how it looks when you kind of like, maybe you do the right task, but something is not quite aligned. I think we all been there, where we say, okay, the task was okay, the skill we could work with, but were you at the right time, at the right place? Maybe, maybe not. And there are so many trends that we can work with. So as futurists, we make these trend cards, kind of like, again, if you go on a vacation and I'm showing you pictures of what could be, and then you say, ooh, I like this, I don't like that. And I think for this conference, some really interesting trends are these 6 here. So I've been talking about more to better. I've also been talking about enemies to allies. Generational bridge building is probably also something that you are talking about in your organizations, that we have so many different people. Human plus AI, we're talking that the entire day. And then we have 2 other ones, the great conversation, which again means that now we are in the era of figuring stuff out, and that we will also have some conversations that we will never get rid of, like flexible work, like career planning, like euthanasia. Those are great conversations that will never have an answer. So just being people in that and enjoying great conversations is a goal in itself. Is there anybody here who enjoy great conversations with nice people and good wine? Okay, that's your homework. And then the final one down here is that I think that it will be super, super hard to succeed in the future if you still run in a hierarchy with teams and you try to, with humans, kind of like being a GPS and trying to figure stuff out and people don't know what's going on. We believe that the future will be community teams. It will be people who are super skilled working together. Maybe they don't like each other, but they respect each other. It's like sailing on a boat or playing a computer game. When you see people who are really good at what they are doing, they don't converse, they don't talk with each other. They had that conversation before. Now is the task of the topic, and then they do it in a community team. But if we don't understand with our vacation mode, like we can see that there's so much stuff going on, and we only say, now we can talk about artificial intelligence. I've been talking about artificial intelligence for like 15 years. Is anybody here who's also been talking about it maybe for even longer? That would be a thing? And now it's here. It's like, now people want to talk about it, and it's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I've been talking about it for 15 years. But now it's here in people's faces, and now it's like, it's everything I can see, and maybe it also takes up so much space that we cannot see. This is also about changing the world. This is also about generational bridge building. This is also about sustainability. If we say it's only about this, and we become tunnel vision, what will happen is that we will just have more of what we already have, and then we will start looking for solutions where we can take stuff away that we don't like. Let me give you an example. Is there anybody here who is spending a lot of time in online meetings? Does that happen? Do you have enough online meetings, or is it like, I could do with less? Do you sometimes think online meetings are so boring? Does that happen? I'm sorry to say, it's not the online meetings that are boring, it's you. Because what happens when we go online is that we kind of scratch all the fun stuff away, and now we can just do more meetings faster with less content. So if that is what we are doing, what could happen is that maybe we will get like a meeting avatar. So this is actually not me. This is an avatar of me. And this avatar can go into a Teams meeting and have team meetings for me. I'm just going to show you.
Hi guys, would you notice that I am an AI if this was a Teams meeting? Hallo Leute, würden Sie bemerken, dass ich eine KI bin, wenn dies eine Teambesprechung wäre? Hi, 大家好，如果这是一次团队会议，你会注意到我是人工智能吗？
So to be honest, who would like that? You never have to be in a Teams meeting again. You can go play golf, you can sleep, you can bake a cake. Nobody will know that you are not on the Teams meeting. So who is honest enough to say, yes, please give me one. Thank you. And that's the whole problem, right? I know that maybe 80% of the people in the room would say, yeah, that would be kind of nice. And then there's one person who is honest enough to admit it. The problem is, could you imagine then we all get one? And I have to say, I have one right now. I had a board meeting at World Animal Protection internationally, where I agreed to go to the meeting online, and then I couldn't attend. And then afterwards, she gave me a transcript of what happened, and she recorded the board meeting, and we were actually not allowed to do so, and I felt like such a criminal. So she actually attended the meeting, and people thought it was me. This is so crazy. So could you imagine that we are all getting one, and we are not telling each other? Which means that now you're the only human sitting in a never-ending array of Teams meetings where everybody else is just sleeping and doing. Could you imagine that? Is that the future that we want? I don't think so. And what if, let's say that all your avatars now start making porn, because it's just, you said you wanted to be the best at customer service. And it kind of figured out people like porn. So now you're in a porn movie, and that's like, not that. And then the next day, 1 million euro to both of you in the accounts, because that was something people wanted to pay for. Now it's like, not that. That's great. And what do we do then if you quit your job? Who owns that avatar? What if, like a company, you can't just kill a company. It has to go through different processes. Can we just kill that avatar, the version of ourselves we just met, who owns that data? Great conversations. This is what we have to talk about. But also just to say that we can't just pay due to the needs that we have right now and say, if I could opt out of a Teams meeting, that would be wonderful. Because one of the other skills we have to do when we have the tourist card is that we have to be visionaries together. Do you agree with me that we have to be visionaries together? Because if we don't, then you are going to sit all by yourself and do all the work. I think that in the old days, we kind of like looked at Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, and we said, oh, these visionary people. Or if we saw a movie, like if you're my age and older, there was a concept called a catastrophe movie. So something new is coming, and then it's exploding, and you sit like there as a kind of like a little, you can do without you, wait for Arnold Schwarzenegger or Bruce Willis to come and save you. It's like, I can't do anything. So we're kind of like in this waiting position, if again, you're my age and older, waiting for stuff. Young people don't do that. So visionary together is also to say, maybe don't rely on those single people, maybe we should do it together in community teams. So do you agree with me on that would be a great thing to be visionary together? Please say yes, because otherwise I have to start over. It's okay also just to whisper it and say, yes, visionary. And you're thinking, how do I do that? Well, it's a skill, we can train it. Shall I give you some hints, some easy hints about how to be a visionary? Yes, so happy. Well, one of them is to not just be there towards other people, be there with yourself. Have you ever listened to other people talking and thinking, it's like your brain is running on Windows 98? Right? Or if you see Putin, it's like, I thought we were through that. Your brain is like running in 1945. So when your own brain, if you see it kind of like a piece of software, maybe also sometimes you're saying something that comes out of your mouth and it was really good inside your head. And then it comes out and then you can say, not a there. It's okay, it's like making pancakes. You do the first pancake and it's kind of crap. It's the same with idea and thoughts. It's like you say something, you say, okay, wow, not that. Let's get to the next one and the next one. So it's okay to be a little stupid, a little awkward when we are together. Get that out of your brain so that we can come to the true essence of it. Point number 2 is that when you want to be a visionary, the now is too late. It is too late to be a visionary in the now. If we know that there's a decision to be made or an exit to be taken, we have to see that coming in good times. Yes, that went well. Can't you just imagine if it's you and me driving in the car and I say, we have to go this way. And okay, you did that really well. And again, if we sit in our own little, own little countries, own little organizations, own little teams, and we are thinking, we handled that well, that was epic, and then we don't have any clue, any nod at that to what is going on outside of our own zone of interest. Kids, the little annoying bastards that look like you, their estimated life expectancy. What is that? What do we estimate that kids today, born today, how old will they get? Yeah, between 100 and 120 years. You can now decide their retirement age. What do you think? Give me a number. 100? If it's 100, then I have to say that all organizations need in HR to have an earn catalog. So that when you come in, you can say you will work until you die. Pick your earn. And then you have that in the reception to go and look at. But would you agree with me that any age we say sounds stupid? If we say 35 or 65 or 100, it's like a little stupid. So what do you say that instead we reorganize so that you can pre-tire instead of retire? Which means that all of you, if you want, you can work until you die, but you will have long breaks through your life with full pay. Would you like that? Say yes, God damn it. Of course, that would be amazing, right? Because there's so many other things in life than just working all the time. But maybe that could be our new productivity plateau. Could you imagine in 10 years we all have kind of like a GPS app stuff that will tell us what we need to do and who we're working with, and then it'll say, just stay home the next 3 days, we don't need you. You've just been overperforming, you just stay home, with your cake and your coffee. And they'll say, okay, that's fine. Maybe it will be like this, we don't know. But again, being in this not-a-da mindset and just thinking about, like when you go on vacation and say, where do I want to go? What would be amazing? Because if we are super stressed little bunny rabbits, then we have this panicky tunnel vision, and then we only see, okay, now we have to do this stuff, and this is so important, and we need growth, and we need to do more, and then we don't see the bigger picture. And then we can get super busy with that, right? You say, let's get life over, and then we'll have fun after we die. And again, I have to say, dead people have a lot of fun, but they say we should enjoy life much more. Which is, again, why the super good trend to work with when we're talking about the trends, the skills, the task. If you just want to pick one, it's more to better. Life is not about more anymore, it is about better. It's about not a long life, but a better life. Not more decisions, but better decisions. Do you want more programs in television? Do you want more politicians? So just apply that to everything you do, the more and the better. And then go into tourist mode. Start dreaming about all the amazing stuff that can happen. Because all day long, what we are hearing now is that the world is under destruction. Isn't that right? Is that also what you hear? We are running out of resources. There's war everywhere. There's mental health problems. We are fighting each other all the time. Why bother? And then when people say that to you, you go, not a day, right? Because if we don't, what happens is typically that either we become a little panicky, and then we say it has to go so super fast all the time. Let's go. And haven't you an AI, and it's running away, and you need to invest in it. You don't make better decisions than that, and totally not together as visionary people. In the other end, what happens is that people run out of energy. So there's so much change going on over here, and then they become what is called a sausage of death. I'm a biologist by education. I just love this little sea cucumber so much. It has the nickname, the sausage of death, because it starts out its career as a happy little larva, swimming around in the ocean and thinking about how to enjoy itself in the future. And then it finds a little office with a chair where it sucks its little behind. And then the first thing it does after it has sucked itself on the surface of the office chair is to eat its own brains, because it doesn't need that anymore. And I know you are not like that, but maybe you have been in an organization where it was a little bit like, just kind of like flowing, see what comes through, don't have the energy for anything. I went to one of the biggest bank in Denmark. There were 450 people sitting there, floating in the winds. Yeah. And then I tried to kind of like excite them a little bit about the future. So I asked them to talk about a magic moment. Have you had like a magic moment where you really feel that you put yourself into play? Totally silent. And then there's one guy. Yes. Does it have to be work-related? And it's like, yeah. I think it has to be work-related. I think if you are sitting there thinking a robot could do my job, a robot will do your job. I think so too. I think if you are a little weird, I think the robot would look at you, the algorithm, and say, you're a little weird. I don't really get you. That's interesting. I'll keep you. If you do something that's more strain on what it is that you do, you have to use your creativity together with people. Again, it's like going into a car, setting a destination with your GPS, and then relying on that infrastructure to get you there. And then say other people can do whatever they want, as long as we are not enemies, but we are allies. So again, when people come and say that the world is under destruction, you just go into tourist mode and you say, not a day. My little brother, he went from a vacation in Italy last year, and then he drove up through Germany, and then he got overtaken by one of his own wheels. And then you go, it's a little sweaty, right? But all of you, like when we are grown-ups, we also have this panic button. We have a panic button and the hand is going like, okay, there came one of my own wheels, and you want to press the panic button, but then there's a grown-up inside of you that goes, no. You can always panic later. Yeah. Panic when you go home with a glass of red wine. Don't panic in the moment. Like, visionary is something that you are now. It's something like if you want to climb a mountain or you want to run a marathon, you start training that skill today so that you are ready for it. And if the future is that we have to be better people, we have to start by being better people today, tiny better people, little bit better people, trying to consume and encompass so many people to say it's not about winning the game, it's actually about improving the game. And you don't have to be a happy tourist. Maybe you're saying this is too much. You can also be like, sexy owl. Could be like, somebody has a meeting, you're just popping your head in and say, that's okay. You can also be the skeptical owl, little like, explain this to me. Or maybe you are the Friday evening owl. Because the least thing we should do today, what we should never do and waste our time on is having this stupid conversation about stuff that doesn't matter. That we have, the media wants us to fight all the time. There's so many things we can waste our energy on. But the people who will succeed in the future, those are the people who take care of the energy that they have. And they don't want to waste it on something that doesn't matter. They put it into something where it's really interesting. So for instance, instead of seeing all these different generations that we have now that are supposed to be fighting with each other, then of course we can still say, okay, maybe we should just let people be people and find some epic problems. Because we are super, super different. We are super different through the ages. But we have so many things in common, which is that we want to solve great problems, we want to be good people, we're all under pressure with our identity, which also means that if you want to kind of own into the future generation, for them working together with AI is a quest. If you look to the generations over here, it's work that needs to get done with so that you can go home and do something else. Over here, it's a quest that I do together with other people, and if you are a white middle-aged man or woman coming from over here, shut up. Your role is Gandalf and Galadriel from the Lord of the Rings. It is to create an adventure and then go away. It's like, if Gandalf came in all the time, drizzling a little magic, I can solve that problem, I know it all. It's like, could you just bugger off? Because it's supposed to be fun over here. We also, again, if you're my generation and older, we have to learn to not be enemies. We are in this default mindset of wanting to battle and find an enemy, and typically it's because we have so many inner demons that we don't want to talk about, so it's much, much more fun just to take it out on other people. So if you see that cross-generational, one of the things that happens is that we have the young people coming in and say, do you want feedback? There's something going on inside of you look a little sad, you want to talk about it. And then all my generation old over here is like, no, I'm super self-contained, please go away. So we are going to have so much fun in the workplace. It's really good to start with the nada, because when we do the enemy stuff, when we do the confrontational, when we go and say, oh, I really want that conversation, then the young over here, do you know what they're calling us? NPCs. And an NPC is a non-playable character in a computer game. Who wants to be an NPC? It's like all the cards you have in your hand, all the skills is just yak, can't use it for anything. And then they're just moving on to something else. Just find some epic problems. Change the conversation about, it's not just about having a smoother workday, it's putting yourself into play. It is that you can actually now get a second brain. Much of AI will be like a GPS in traffic. You don't see yourself battling against a GPS. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to prompt it. You use it as a second brain. Just as if once you were really good at doing math in your head and now you have a calculator, that's a second brain. We could also use it to make intelligent money. I think this is going to be a huge game changer in the future. So if I say that money will become intelligent, can you give me a nada? Can you give me a nada? Can you say, oh, so if money is intelligent, that means that money can make decisions and money can find the best investment, and that means that if we are good people and we do good sustainable investment, that might pay off in like 3 generations' time, that will actually be something that AI can go and say, I want to fund that. Can you imagine that? So when I say, can you imagine that, just say yes. Again, because you're not a visionary in the now, we're just putting in all these kind of like vacation photos to say, oh, so you mean also that in the old days we did stuff that was automatic, but in the future we can do auto magic, which means that typically in the old days the rules of the game was that you can do something that's tailored and very expensive, or you can do something that's scalable and cheap, and now we can merge those two, so I can make something that's scalable, cheap, and tailored at the same time. Could you imagine that? That's like a cancer treatment, people. That is that I'm not just giving you a package, I'm actually giving you a genetically tailored cancer treatment that will cure you. Do you want that? People, you have to say yes, because otherwise the AI can't give it to you. So these are also the day where we have to start saying, yes, this is what I want. It's like if you go into a pizzeria, you're on vacation, and then they say, what would you like? And you go, well, then you will get a pizza with seagull and motor oil. It's like, that wasn't what I wanted. Yeah, but then say what it is that you want. So that's again when we go from more to better. It's really hard to put yourself into play. Benjamin said that we have to take these cards and then put ourselves into play. This might also be one of the greatest steps, in humanity, is that now it's just not a character or a skill set I put into play. It is myself. But I invite you just to go and think about, is it more or is it better? Just say not a day. You don't have to run around like a crazy person. Just come back to yourself and say, I'm just gonna think a little bit about this. And whatever happens, you just say, not a day. And again, when you hear about that the world is under destruction, then you say, not a day. Really? Is it? Or is it under construction? Is the world right now actually getting rewritten and there's so much stuff that's crumbling as it should, and it's really hard, but now we actually have this possibility that we can build a better world together, and this is going to be our legacy? Is that maybe a thing that we can do? There is actually a scale that's objectively where you measure the state of civilizations. It's called the Kardashev scale. Really invite you to look into it. It's so super, super interesting. Here we start out in tribal mode, so that is civilization 0, and then we go towards civilization 1, which is planetary. There's a lot of those on the other side. It is actually the reason why the aliens haven't visited us. It's because we're idiots. They are still looking at us to say, okay, maybe they could go towards this. In planetary mode, we have solved all our problems. In planetary mode, the batteries actually work. It's full sustainability. It's like you have democracy and you have diversity. You have all the things that we are kind of like just touching upon now is fully working over here. Whereas in tribal mode, it's battle for survival, running out of resources, only taking care of my own people. This is 0, this is 1. How far do you think we are? On the Kardashev scale, the objective number, we are on 0.76. Yeah, look happy, for the love of God. It means that we are actually over the worst. And they say that if we really pull together, and we have good, smart, kind-hearted people, and one evil person, that really sets sail into moving the world from more to better. Creating new friends, creating new allies, leveling the playing field, and saying it's not a matter of getting more all the time. It's actually about getting it better and creating peace and winning the peace so that we can absorb all the crises that come from beyond. Then we can move to planetary in less than 30 years. So we win the Nobel Peace Prize. Can you see that? Yes? Just have to hold on. So all you need to do when you get a little bit, like panicky or a little bit overloaded, there's so many things, put all your cards down and say not a day. And then everything will be better. So thank you so much for listening to me. I'll see you in 30 years. Nobel Peace Prize, lots of beer. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne. What an amazing way to end the Innovation Summit.